Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to our Thursday evening training. As always, it's a pleasure for me to be with you, both myself and Pascal. Always happy to share this time with you, talking about our products as well as our business. I hope that the month of September has been coming along very well for you, that your goals are within your reach or you've already reached them. And let me welcome you from wherever you are joining us, whether you are here on our continent of Africa or you are further afield, you're very welcome. And as always, we hope that the training session is going to be beneficial to both yourself and your business, as well as your family members and circle of influence. And as you might have seen from your invite, today I'm speaking about a bit of a sad subject, the subject of substance abuse recovery. So in a way, it is a sad subject because in these times that we are living in, we find that this is a problem that is becoming ever more common. But it is also hopeful because we do have people who want to recover and regain control over their lives. And so that is going to be our session today. For those of you who are very new and maybe are meeting us for the first time, my name is Betyy, Oloo, a long-time Neolife distributor. Always very delighted to be able to share with you what I have learned over the years about our products, and in so doing help you to position your products for maximum effect and sales in your area that you're working in. So I wanted to introduce our topic today by saying that whether there is recovery from substance abuse is being handled by professionals or by charitable organizations or by individuals in their homes, it is important for us as distributors to have at least a bit of basic knowledge so as to be able to know how to position the products and how to recommend them to people who are having this specific struggle. This is more important, especially because the subject of substance abuse disorder has got a stigma attached to it. But as distributors, it is not really our place to make moral judgments over the people who are struggling with this. Our part is to offer help, information, as well as the supplements that we have to anyone who has committed to recovery. Because, as I say, the abuse of substances is a sad thing that we know is happening, but we are hopeful because we come across people who want to recover. And it is those who want to recover and who have committed themselves to the process of recovery that we address our help to. So I wanted to start by a few definitions because maybe this is an area where we need to clarify what some of the terminologies mean. And so the first thing I want to define is what is substance abuse. So it is defined as a periodic excessive use of certain substances or prescription drugs. Then the next is what is addiction. So addiction is defined as compulsive or obsessive drug seeking and drug using behavior in spite of serious negative consequences to a person's life. So when this becomes a situation in which the consequences are not unpleasant consequences are not a deterrent, then we could be dealing with addiction. Then the third phrase I wanted to define is dependence, substance dependence. So this is a process by which the body comes to rely on a specific substance in order to feel a certain way. Remember that our bodies have got what they need in order to manufacture the hormones that help us to feel joyful or to feel angry or to feel all these different emotions. But process of substance dependence means that the body now, the substance that is being depended upon hijacks our normal pathways, and now we become dependent on that specific substance, maybe to feel relaxed or to feel happy or just to feel okay, because as the dependence on the substance progresses, it no longer brings maybe the pleasure it initially brought, but what it does is help the person to feel at least normal so that they're able to function, which is quite sad actually. So we have two categories of dependence. The one is a physical dependence, where the body's physiology relies on the substance to function normally. And then we have psychological dependence, which is an emotional or mental reliance or preoccupation with the substance being abused. This psychological dependence continues even after the addiction phase is behind the person recovering. So psychological dependence just means that the person loses confidence in their ability to cope, and even though they see they can cope, in their mind they still think they would be better off with the help of the substance they have gotten into the habit of depending on as a coping mechanism. Then from dependence, we go on to the term withdrawal. So withdrawal, on quitting a substance which is being abused, often there are results such as unpleasant or dangerous symptoms, which are referred to as withdrawal symptoms. They differ with the substance that is being abused. So for example, if it is alcohol, there may be the tremors, there may be depression, there may be all kinds of sweating, nausea, a lot of unpleasant effects can accompany quitting the substance because the body had grown used to it. And when it is removed, the body has an adverse reaction, which can actually be quite discouraging to the person trying to get rid of the habit. So we have acute withdrawal symptoms, which occur soon after the substance is stopped. So immediately after stopping, the withdrawal symptoms can be very, very, very harsh or acute, such as shaking and sweating and even getting fits. And it can be life-threatening, especially if the person has been using the substance for a long period. As the process goes on, the withdrawal symptoms are going to become less and less. But of course, it means that if the initial withdrawal is so negative, a person can easily become discouraged and go back to using the substance, feeling that they cannot even survive without it. But if they hang in and they get the right help that they need, with time, the withdrawal symptoms become less acute and they can actually continue making progress in kicking the habit. Then the next terminology is the turning point. So in this case, the turning point means that the person who has been abusing the substance becomes fed up with using that substance as a coping mechanism. So they can see that terrible things have happened or their lives are going in a very bad direction. And so when they reach that point, sometimes we speak of it as turning point, sometimes people speak of it as the hitting rock bottom. All that this refers to is that no intervention can be effective in the long term before the person who is abusing a substance actually reaches a point where they themselves are fed up with what is happening in their own lives as a result of abusing this substance. So it is a very important thing, the turning point of the rock bottom, because it signals even to the support people in the person's life that they are no longer trying to force them to change. They themselves actually are now fed up with the life that they are living under the governance of this substance that they are abusing, and they would now like to free themselves from their addiction or their dependence and take control of their lives. Then the next phrase is substance detox. So this is a process of eliminating the substance from the body in order to start the recovery. So the process of recovery starts, of course, with the withdrawal symptoms, but then it goes on to the detox, where the body starts getting rid of the residues of the substance that was getting abused. Of course, it means that if the abuse had been taking place for a long time, it may take longer, but the body, as usual, is always trying hard to help us survive. So this substance detox is the body's procedure of eliminating the substance from the body and the organs of the body where there may still be residues. Then the next one is recovery. Of course, recovery is a process of recovering from dependence or addiction. Then the next phrase is relapse. So relapse refers to a brief or prolonged resumption of substance abuse after the recovery process had begun. So this is when someone falls back. Maybe, as I said in the previously, that it could be because the withdrawal symptoms have been very difficult, or they find that they're not able to cope, or they change their minds and feel that their life without the substance is not really what they want. And what can happen is that they go back to using the drugs. But often the people who deal with helping people to recover say that relapse is part of a process, because sometimes people fall back, but from that second fall or third fall, they are able to make a more determined effort because they have already tasted the possibility of being free from the abused substance. Then last, but once a person reaches the turning point, a lot of support is needed and a lot of encouragement, so as to help them to understand that there is a life outside of drug abuse or substance abuse, and also that maybe if they have relapsed, that it is not the end of everything. The relapse does not mean they have got to go back to what was going on before. They can actually pick themselves up and make another effort. Then the final phrase I wanted to define is PAWS, or PAWS as it's called. This is post-addiction withdrawal syndrome. So this is a low-grade kind of discomfort and unpleasant symptoms that come as the person is detoxing from the substance. They may become a bit depressed or irritated or lethargic. They feel they have no energy, or they don't really want to do anything. So this can go on for a long time or for not so long. It's quite dependent on individuals, but it is a thing that is there that we should be aware of, that there can be a prolonged period of being depressed or irritable or not really wanting to do anything and feeling like they don't even want to be bothered and so on. So this is part of that process of withdrawing from substance abuse. And just to mention that this depression and irritability that accompanies in the long term can actually be helped by exercise, because exercise helps the body to take back those pathways that had been hijacked by the substance being abused. So things like exercise, of course, also supplements, and a healthy diet can help to reduce the severity and the duration of the post-addiction withdrawal symptoms or syndrome. Okay. Then now I wanted to turn our attention to nutrients, and specifically to nutrient deficiency, how nutrient deficiency can come about in people who are living with substance abuse. So there can be a number of ways in which substance abuse causes nutritional deficiencies. Number one is poor food choices due to a variety of reasons. So why would people be making poor food choices? It could be that they're having money problems because a lot of their income has been going towards their buying of the substance they're abusing. Or it could be due to loss of appetite, because the substance being abused might suppress the appetite or make them lose interest in food in preference for the substance. It could also be the deficiency can also be due to ignorance, because the person does not really understand that some foods are better for their long-term health than others. So they may just eat the food that they can get, or the food that they feel like maybe they're in the mood for eating, rather than making good choices. Okay, another way in which this nutritional deficiency can come is because Nutrients can be depleted as the body tries to detox from the substances. So some of the nutrients are actually used by the body to help to eliminate the substance that is being abused. And that means that some of those nutrients would be deficient in the body because they are being sidelined into detox. Then another reason can be craving of junk food or foods that are not worthwhile nutrition-wise. So things like refined sugar, for example, a lot of the junk food have got a lot of sugar, a lot of salt, a lot of additives, and so forth. So this can work against the nutritional level in our bodies. And then, of course, another way in which this can come about is that the abused substance, certain abused substances interfere with the body's ability to absorb certain nutrients. So that means that even though they are taking in the nutrients, they are not being absorbed, and that means that the body becomes deficient of them. Then the last one I'll mention is that abused substances may cause the body to flush out some of the nutrients. So they may actually cause the body to get rid of nutrients that the body actually requires. So those are some of the ways in which nutritional deficiency can occur in a person who has been or is abusing substances. And so we should be aware that as we are talking to them about our products, that they actually could be undernourished or malnourished because of some of these reasons. Then there are certain illnesses that take advantage of people who are living with substance abuse. So some of the illnesses that can result from substance abuse include mood disorders. Some of them can originate from, they may have been latent in the person, but the drug abuse itself can be the trigger. Remember, we say that there are many things in our bodies that lay latent, but as long as we don't trigger them, they don't affect us because they just remain latent. But the abuse of substances is one of the things that can act as a trigger. For instance, for mood disorder, things like bipolar and clinical depression can originate from substance abuse. Then some of the disorders related to anxiety, like panic attacks or PTSD, can also be from substance abuse. Some mental illnesses can also be triggered, and also painful illnesses or injuries requiring prolonged use of strong pain medication can be the gateway through which a person starts substance abuse. But also childhood traumas can be internalized, and as the person approaches adulthood, they may find that they become predisposed to substance abuse because the childhood trauma might start resurfacing in certain ways. And then finally, in my list here, abuse of a socially acceptable substance can be the gateway which leads people to go to stronger or more dangerous substances. So for instance, if you are in a culture where alcohol is acceptable, then alcohol might be the gateway through which alcoholism enters a person's life. And from alcoholism, there can be branching out into other different substances that can then become quite a serious downward spiral for the person. You may also find that during the recovery process itself, a person who is recovering might adopt a different kind of addiction. So let's say they are recovering from the use of cannabis. Then when they stop the cannabis, they may now want to take very sugary things like ice cream and all that kind of sodas and all that stuff. So the kind of the gap left by the removal of the substance that was being abused causes the person to latch onto other things as a way of coping. So those are some of the issues that can be related. Now, let me turn my attention to the products that we can recommend. First and foremost, of course, I'll recommend Formula 4 or Formula 4 Plus, because this is a supplement that will be a general bridge for any nutritional gaps that the person may have. So we can recommend Formula 4. as a baseline. And onto that, we can add omega-3 salmon oil, which is beneficial in a number of ways. So, for example, the brain uses omega-3 salmon oils to regenerate itself, because remember, when some of these substances are used, they alter the way the brain operates and can cause certain damages or reduce certain functions. And by using omega-3 salmon oil, we can help the brain to recover its health. Omega-3 salmon oil also will help with resolving systemic inflammation that is often associated with substance abuse, because the body is having to deal with something which has got no place in its nutrition or in its physiology. So the body will react by having high inflammation, systemic inflammation, and that is an area where omega-3 salmon oil helps. It also helps in improving brain function, learning, and memory, because, of course, prolonged substance abuse can affect those areas of our brain. And it can also blunt the harshness of the withdrawal symptoms, as well as the drug craving that follows recovery. So that is the omega-3 salmon oil. We also recommend vitamin B complex because it is often deficient in people who are abusing drugs, because some abused substances tend to interfere with the absorption of members of the vitamin B complex, and that can cause a deficiency. Also, the abuse of other substances can deplete the amount of some of the vitamin B family in our bodies. And so B complex is important to supplement with in someone who is recovering. Then magnesium is another important supplement that we can recommend. Some substances, for example, alcohol, cause the body to flush out magnesium, and therefore supplementation would be helpful. Magnesium, we also know, helps reduce anxiety, and it helps with relaxation as well as improving the quality of sleep. These are problem areas for people who are recovering from substance abuse. They may have insomnia, that is inability to sleep, or an inability to relax, or they may be anxious because they don't feel that they are going to be able to succeed in the long term. So magnesium would be helpful in reducing anxiety, insomnia, and helping with relaxation. Magnesium also helps to decrease the dependency on the substance, and it also helps reduce the severity of the withdrawal symptoms. Then the next supplement we'll recommend is chelated zinc. And this is another one that is depleted by some of the substances that are abused, and also by some of the strong pain medications that might be used by people who have got certain conditions that are very painful. So we would recommend chelated zinc. Chelated zinc also, when it is deficient, it tends to worsen anxiety and can lead to cravings. So by making sure that they are supplementing with chelated zinc, they can help the person to deal better with anxiety and to minimize cravings for the substance or alternative substance they may be craving. Then the next that we recommend is vitamin C. Vitamin C helps in detoxing, the body detoxing from the substances, and also it helps in resolving inflammation. Vitamin C will also help the body with calming itself down and reducing stress. Also mood stabilization, because it helps the body in the manufacturing of those hormones that helps us to feel, to have a sense of well-being. Because the thing with some of the substances that are abused, they're abused because they give a person a sense of well-being. Unfortunately, that hijacks the body's own systems of giving us a sense of well-being that we would naturally be able to have. So vitamin C is one of the vitamins that is involved in the making of the hormones that stabilize our moods and that give us a sense of well-being. Because when we have a sense of well-being, we feel better able to cope with difficult things. Then the next one would be vitamin D, especially because sometimes people who are abusing substances may be not spending time in the sun, not getting enough sunshine exposure, which we know is an important way for our bodies to manufacture vitamin D. And of course, there may be people who are living in temperate lands where they may not be getting enough vitamin D already. So supplementing with this is going to help with the three top problems of post-addiction withdrawal symptom, that is depression. Vitamin D will help with depression, insomnia, that is lack of sleep, as well as anxiety. Yes, so this is another one that helps with those problems that affect the person who is in recovery. So deficiency in vitamin D is associated with mood disorders, as we said, anxieties and depression and so on, and also poor health, general overall poor health. So vitamin D is very, very important, and that is why our bodies have evolved to be able to actually make it simply through our skins when exposed to sunlight. So of course, if we have this situation, then it would be a good idea to supplement as the person tries to get their lives back in order. Then the final one that we would recommend would be NutriShake, which, Neolife Shake, which would be helpful in providing them with amino acids for rebuilding the tissues which would have broken down as a result of a life with substance abuse. The amino acids boost mental energy and help the body to produce its own natural mood elevating hormones, as we say, the same with vitamin C. So this will be working hand in hand. Neolife Shake will also help in tissue repair, including the gut lining, which is often damaged by substance abuse. So when the person is abusing substances, they may not be eating well, or they may be eating things which are not good. And some of the substances like alcohol has got to be processed through the gut. And the gut lining can actually take a serious beating from dealing with such substances. So Neolife Shake is going to help in the repair of damaged tissue. Then Neolife Shake will also help against cravings, particularly for sugar, craving for sugary things that tends to replace substance craving in a person who is getting rid of substance abuse. So that is what I wanted to share with you today, just to see that the list of supplements are a bit long. This is because this is a very difficult situation for the body to deal with. And I know that there may be cases where the person is not able to even have the money to buy supplements. And of course, also families who may help sometimes may be fed up with having to pay up for drug rehabilitation and so on. But nonetheless, it is important for us to know what we can recommend when we come across people who are struggling with this, because I think many of us are aware. For myself as an older person, when I was young, it was once maybe one or two people in our local area who maybe would be alcoholics, but substance abuse was not a common thing at all. But unfortunately, in these times, we find that almost all of us might know of someone or be closely related to someone who is abusing substances. And for that reason, I think that it is good for us to be informed about this issue, because our aim as Neolife distributors is always to be able to provide people with what we have to improve their quality of lives. And I think you can imagine that if even the family members of someone who is a substance abuser will be suffering. And so if we can educate, if we can help, and if we can encourage, we would be doing our part as distributors to make their lives better, and maybe to help them in assisting their person to go into drug rehabilitation or recovery. So I see that my time is running out. There is no time to tackle any of the questions. But as you know, we are going to be having in a week or two a Q&A session. So I want to encourage you to send any questions or observations. I'm always happy to hear your observation because all of us are out there confronting some of these things. So the observations are also valuable and recommendations as well. So I want to thank you very much for the time that you have given me out of your life. And I hope that it has been a good investment and the session has been beneficial to you in one way or another, either at present or at some future point when you come across someone who is in need of this kind of information. You'll be in a better position to assist them, whether with the supplements or with some information or simply with support from one human being to another. So thank you very much. I want to hand you over to Pascal now, who is ready to take you through the next session, but also to keep on wishing you all the best as we move towards the last days of September. Thank you very much. Here is Pascal now.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you, Betyy, for that wonderful session. I always sit on the desk here, listening and learning new things that I didn't know. It's very good to have a resident tutor. So, how many of you have been talking to people, but you don't see any growth in your business? Just lift your hands up. How many of you have been talking to people? Sometimes you get new people in the business and nothing seems to be growing. I see a lot of people are lifting their hands. Join the club. You've been talking to a lot of people and there seems to be nothing going on and you wonder, is this business really working? Don't worry, you're in the right company. Everybody goes through. I see the whole screen is, all the hands are up in the screen. That the people, you've been talking to a lot of people and the business doesn't seem to be growing and you're wondering what's happening. I'm here to assure you that your business is growing. I think a lot of you have heard of the Chinese bamboo tree. What is a Chinese bamboo tree? It's a type of bamboo that the first 4 years after it is planted, you water it, you weed it, you give it fertilizer, it doesn't grow at all. The 5th year, it grows 90 feet. I want you to think your business like the Chinese bamboo tree. As long as you're talking to people, your business will grow. Do not think that the business is not growing. In fact, I was listening to somebody, he says that the first 7 years, the maximum he earned is $500 in those 7 years. Nothing seems to be happening. But when it was the right time, his income grew to well over $100,000 a month. What we don't realize is that we earn the money during those lean periods, but we are only collecting the money at the end. That's what really is happening. When you're talking to different people, when you're talking to prospects, when you're talking to customers, trust me, your business is growing. It's just a matter of time before you start collecting the money that you've been investing in the business. The last 2 weeks, I've been talking. In fact, I think I repeated the sponsoring process on 2 training occasions. Sponsoring process is very important because our business depends on new people. But I want to go one step further to see how the sponsoring process is tracked. How do you keep track of what you are actually doing? I see somebody is complaining the sound. Those who are not lifting up their hands, tell me if the sound is okay, because some people are saying the audio session is not very clear. Yeah, I think the sound is clear. If you're not hearing very clearly from the sound, go to your audio. I don't know which part of the audio. On my screen is the bottom left. Click it and check audio, then adjust your audio accordingly. So I see a lot of people are saying the sound is great. Thank you very much, all of you. I really appreciate it. So What I want to do today is take you through what is called the daily method of operation. A daily method of operation is how you keep track of your activities. And it's very important to keep track of it because it will give you a very clear idea that you're actually doing the business. When your sheet is filled up with activities of the things you want to do to grow your business. So if you give me a moment, I want to share the screen with you. This simple sheet, I got this from one of the New Life websites in the US. I'm not sure whether it's been uploaded to our back office, but I will check. If I don't have, I'll send this to Alan so that he can distribute to everybody. It's a very simple way to keep track of your activities. Each sheet covers 1 week: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday and Saturday. So week 1 or week 2 of the month. And it covers 1, engaging a prospect. Number 2, following up with a prospect that you've spoken to. Number 3, training, that is engaging someone in the success system activities. That means you're teaching them how to build their business. 4, to check if your customer or a promoter today, that is either your customer whom you're already servicing or a promoter whom you're guiding to become successful. And then starting a new customer or a new promoter or distributor in the business. So this tracker helps you to keep your business going in the 1, sponsoring process. Number 2, a follow-up. Number 3, dealing with customers. Number 4, training your team members. Number 5, getting new people started. This daily method of operation is actually the key to give you an indication of how your business is growing. It's a very simple sheet, and the reason why it is simple as this is because one of the things that really wastes our time is making our business complicated. Our business is very simple. We talk to people, we show them the business, we invite them, show them the business, doing a follow-up, get them started, show them the path to follow so that they become very successful. That is what we do in the business on a constant basis. So this daily method of operation, and the reason why I like this is because it's got a New Life logo. So any distributor from any market can use this daily method of operation, daily business activity tracker. It helps you to see what you're actually doing on a daily basis. Rather, it helps you see what you're doing for the week. If you look at a sheet for the week and there is nothing from Monday to Saturday, you haven't engaged any prospect in a conversation, there's no follow-up you're making, you haven't engaged somebody in training or teaching them the success system, you have not followed up with a promoter or a customer, and there's nobody new you're starting, your business isn't growing. Okay? But as long as you get engaged in these activities, your business is growing. Remember, our goal is very simple. Our goal, number 1, is to educate our prospects and customers. Number 2 is to offer them solutions for the problems they have in their lives. And to be able to really help the people in our group so that people buy into you, there are a few things that are very important for success to happen. Number 1, you need to know the people you are speaking to. Okay? Empathy. You need to be able to. In fact, I was reading today about a lady who was going to buy a car. Her and her husband wanted to go and look at cars. And when they were in their old car, they were going to the dealership. The gentleman told his wife, "Look, we are going to the dealership. We are not buying any car today. I don't want you to hear the saying that you're buying any car today." So they got to the dealership, and a gentleman came out and asked the gentleman, "Oh, you're John?" I said, "Yes. I read your LinkedIn profile, and I saw that you have a child who has got autism. And I was very, very glad because you're the president of the Autism Association. This salesperson spoke for half an hour about this man's activities, the work he's doing for the autism organization, how much he appreciated him. He asked him what kind of work he did. After 30 minutes, the man turned to his wife and said, "Honey, I think we've got the right car for us to buy. Shall we write in a deposit?" The first step of becoming effective in getting people in the business is empathy. That means you actually take time to know the person you are speaking with. The next thing is integrity. The next thing is consistency. The next thing is vulnerability. That means the person you're speaking to needs to know that you are also human, that you actually open up yourself to be seen as you are. Okay, so those few things are very, very important when you're speaking to your prospects. Keep yourself up. 3 things must happen for a prospect to join your business. They must know you, they must like you, and they trust you. If those 3 things are there, you're likely to sponsor them in the business. So this daily method of operation tracker helps you to keep track of your activities during the week. And after a whole month, you will have 4 sheets like this. Just go through it and check how you have been effective for the month that you are actually tracking your activities. Okay, so this is the daily method of operation that I would encourage all of you to get hold of, print, get a small book. I would recommend make a small booklet of 12 pages. Those 12 pages will cover 3 months. I think 3 months is a very good time frame to give you a very clear idea of how you can build momentum into your business. 90 days is a good time frame to monitor your activity, so that, in fact, psychologists say it takes between 66 and 253 days for a new habit to form. So if you have 12 sheets covering 3 months, if you do it consistently, it will become a habit, and that's how you become successful. The next thing I wanted to discuss with you is the power of your story. Do not underestimate the power of your story. Why is that important? Because remember, facts tell, stories sell. A lot of people join the business not because they understood what the presenter was doing, but because they are captivated by the story of somebody who has been very successful in the business. On Monday, when you were having a presentation, and our leader from Uganda, Janet Bugembo, was giving her story, I saw how so many people were touched by that story, but she wasn't talking about she wasn't explaining how the business works, just sharing her story. So if you want to have a powerful story, it has to have 4 elements. Number 1, how difficult your life was, either health-wise or monetary-wise or whatever it is. How your life was before you met Neolife. Number 2, how you came to join Neolife, either to use the products or to look at the business. Number 3, what benefit you have received, either products or income-wise from the business. And the last part is, how does the future look like? Those are the 4 ways you can craft your story. And trust me, you can say the same story over and over and over again. It is still going to capture somebody's mind and heart. Why? Because you're speaking from your heart. Remember, I think I mentioned some time ago, the day the business will move from your head to your heart, you're going to be successful. Why? Because people will learn to relate to the journey you've undertaken. All right? So learn to tell your story. But 3 other things I want to mention about being very effective in telling your story or being a speaker. 3 things. Let me use some Latin words: ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos is the ethics of your life. You need to have moral integrity in whatever you do or say. That covers the ethos. Pathos means the ability to touch people's feelings when you tell your story. For example, if you're going through tremendous amount of challenges, people relate to it. People actually identify with the challenges that you're going through. Why? Because every single person of you has got a challenge of one form or another. There is nobody on this screen attending this presentation who doesn't have a problem, who doesn't have a challenge. So share the challenges that you go through to build a business. And the third part is logos. Logos simply means you need to be able to advance a solid reason why you're doing the business, how the business makes sense. If you have these three things, elements in your story will be very, very, very powerful. All right? Let me give you an example of our story. When Betyy and I came to South Africa in 1995, in fact, Betyy and I arrived in South Africa with 4 wooden chairs, a small table, 2 suitcases, and 3 children. And our youngest at that time was 10 days old. That's how we came into this country. And we had dreams, we had visions. I mean, being an engineer, the only path I knew of how to become successful is going to school. So as soon as I got a job, I enrolled to do a postgraduate course in construction management. But after spending 2 years, an additional $4,000 to obtain a diploma in construction management, there was not a single increase in my salary, and that really frustrated me. I felt that I did not spend the money wisely in order to increase our income. And around that time, Betyy also had been looking for a job because Betyy is a trained science teacher in biology and chemistry. She couldn't get a job. At that time, most of the school that she applied, you needed to know 2 languages, English and Afrikaans. Of course, Betyy did not know Afrikaans. And she looked for an employment in a school for a whole year until she made a statement that really changed everything. She said, I've looked for a job long enough. Let the job come and find me at home. And 2 weeks after she made that statement, a friend of ours called Jen Kibera called Betyy and said, Betyy, I know you have a sick child whom you want to look for. I think I've got a business for you. She went for a presentation. She came back. I could see she was very excited. She didn't know the details of how the business actually works, but she says that the idea makes sense. It took us 2 days to decide. When they brought our kit, they brought with them product and they explained. They drew circles and they told us, this first circle is you and Betyy. Then they drew 3 other circles and said, these other circles are your team members. And then they joined those circles with straight lines. This is called teamwork. If you get people to use the products and you introduce them to use and promote the product, you earn an income. I couldn't believe that such a business system existed. After they left, I took a pen and a paper and I walked out. I said, if Betyy and I introduce, that was in March, if in March we introduce 3 people, at the end of the month it would be 4. If those 4 introduce 3 each, it would be 12 new people plus the other 4 would be 16. I made those calculations. After 1 year, that number was 16.7 million people. I did not need to be convinced anymore. Even if I said that, even if 0.1% of that figure is true, it is worth doing the business. I became so obsessed. I would wake up Betyy at 3 o'clock telling her who I've remembered that I want to introduce to the business. I got so consumed by the business. After 7 months, I equaled my salary. And when that happened, I knew my future was in Neolife. And we kept building the business. After 9 months, we were Sapphire directors. After 11 months, we have become 1 Ruby directors. After 14 months, we became 2 Ruby directors. Our business was growing so fast. After 3 years, what we were earning from the business was 3 times my salary. And on 27th September 1999, I fired my boss. I cannot begin to describe to you the joy of Betyy and I going full-time in the business. One of the things that really sticks in my memory is the year 2000 when Neolife had the convention in the Sun City. because Sun City is about 160 kilometers from Pretoria, we took all our children, we put them in the car, we drove to Sun City. When we got there, when we walked through the gate, they were stopped and they told us, "Sir, please just leave your car, we're going to park it for you." They went and parked our car, brought our luggage, we checked in, and they gave us some cards. They told us, this is your key to your room. We went to the room. If you slide the plastic across the key, a green button comes on and the office opens. The door opens. When it opened, one of our children, Felix, looked around. The TV came on and says, "Welcome, the Oloo family." Felix turned around and says, "Mommy, this is life." Those are moments you cannot buy with money. After a few years, we went back to Sun City just by ourselves as a family. We spent 3 glorious days in the Sun City. And this is what this business is about. This business gives you time to enjoy with your family, to have time freedom, to do the things you want to do because you've chosen to do them. Apart from the income, apart from meeting wonderful friends, we've met people from around the world, fantastic friends. We've got friends in Nairobi, in Dar es Salaam, in Uganda, in Nigeria, Southern Africa. This is what this business gives you. And I want to urge all of you, take time and ask yourself the question, if whatever you're doing now cannot give you the lifestyle you're looking for, think again. If what you're doing for the last I don't know how many years hasn't brought you closer to your dreams, take this business seriously. And before I end, I want to give you a worthy challenge to think about. The other day, I was checking some statistics in East Africa. Kenya has got 12.6 million households. Tanzania also has 12.6 million households. Uganda has 7.3 million households. Think about this. If each household in East Africa used only 1 PV of our products, just 1 PV, we'll be doing 30.2 million PV every single month. So I want to give a challenge to all of you who are attending this meeting today. Let the day come when the only product that will be found in any home in East Africa is Neolife products. Whether it's a cleaning product, whether it's a health supplement, whether it's a skincare product, just 1 PV per household in East Africa. Coca-Cola has been able to do the same. Why can't we? We have got leaders in this training session who have got ambitions and dreams and visions. Let this vision be your vision, that every single home in East Africa will be using Neolife products. Let this message go to Andrew Johnson, the Vice President for West and East Africa, that our goal is to have Neolife products in every single home in East Africa. I know Nigerians say they're building the business, they're doing 5 to 6 million PV every month. Let them wait and see. The people from East Africa know how to run. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank all of you very much for spending this evening with Betyy and myself. I wish you the very best. September still has 1 more month to go. One more week to go. If you haven't achieved your goals, keep pushing until the goals you set for September have been achieved. Thank you very much. Good night and God bless you.